Started. There we go. Welcome to our August 2023 State TA Day. I almost said 2024 because it's the 24th, and feels like a year has gone by, and it's only August. So we have lots of fun things to discuss today. We have some non-CDC folks who are coming in to talk about some exciting opportunities. So that's always cool to see. And to kick it off, we have our president of Emerging and Expanding, Miss Emily Wengrovius. And you are muted if you are currently talking.
I am currently talking. Can you guys? Okay, now I have to remember how to do this because I don't want my fun slide. Okay, everyone, it's so good to see you. As Charlie mentioned, I am president of the Emerging and Expanding Grant Program. Christy's vice president. Charlie is Speaker of the House. If you would like a role in our cabinet, please let me know. We're equal opportunity. So, all
just
joking
making
aside,
sure the grant will cover cabinets, right? It's a little pun for you.
Yeah, for sure. Probably, hopefully, that's the plan. Charlie, I love your wit. So when I put this together this morning, we've actually received more applications since I put these numbers together, but currently we have 114 eligible applications. We've granted over 8.2 million. We have just over 5.8 million to grant. I anticipate this applications under review or received status will go up a lot by the time the grant closes tomorrow. And I just want to remind you all that received is when there's a new application that comes in from a provider. That's when licensing gets a task created, and then when they do their review of the application, they add their notes and then put the application under review. So that's why we have these two statuses and kind of what they mean. This number also includes those that are under review from January through March previous application round. So that's just kind of where we're at. And then you can see the amount that we have waiting for eligibility determination is over $11 million. So this is to tee up our conversation around how we have to prioritize the review of the applications. And what we're doing is what we've been doing the entire time, but really having to hone in on these priorities now around increasing slots for infant and toddler care. I think you all know that statewide it's a desert for infant and toddler care. So we really want to make sure that we're supporting our littlest learners. We are then reviewing also, depending on whether a program has received E&E in the previous fiscal year. And so just to be really clear, if a program was awarded E&E in January and they applied in the January to March period, they're not eligible to apply again or receive additional funding. So, but we're also looking at, did they receive it last time? And then the community needs in Desert Store. So this conversation really leads into talking about risk and managing expectations. So y'all remember Salt-N-Pepa? They sing that song, let's talk about risk, baby. Yeah, that's what this is. So some of you Gen Xers with me know them. And the 90s are back, so I fully expect to see outfits like this. So we really want to make sure that we're supporting and you all are supporting your providers and programs that are applying to have expectations. So one thing we want to be really clear is don't promise people funding. I know you guys have been doing a really good job of not doing that. I just want to remind you, like, it's a hard enough conversation to have when folks are ineligible or, when we hit to that point where we're not able to do any more grants at this time. Because we've allocated all of it. So just be really careful with how you talk. I get a lot of questions in my email like, are they eligible? Well, they could be eligible, right? So just little nuance there. And then also, really, when we talk about risk, okay, if a program tells you or indicates to you that they would not be able to operate without E&E funding, this is actually an indication that this is an extremely high risk, and these are federal requirements around and just state taxpayer dollar, or excuse me, taxpayer, being good stewards of taxpayer dollars, that we don't want to incur really high risk investments. Obviously, we want to support programs, we want to support kids, and we want to support communities. But if they're telling you, like, E&E funding is really supposed to be that last funding in. So if you have a program tell you, hey, if I don't get this E&E funding, I'm not going to be able to operate, I'm not going to be able to enroll kids, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills or pay my staff, then this really actually is probably not the right opportunity for them. And so they have the option of withdrawing their application, or if you run into that and you want to talk it through with us, please do. You all know that you can put 30 minutes on my calendar. It's in my signature block, and we can figure out how to work through that situation. But really, we have to be, risk is a big thing that's looked at in audits. And when the Office of Inspector General comes back around, and we anticipate this program will have more scrutiny just because of the nature of capital investments that are happening in this program. And then, as we've talked about before, we know that through the office, or excuse me, through the Department of Early Childhood, there's a lot of stimulus funding flowing through. So it's also that scrutiny from that place around making sure there's not what the feds call a duplication of benefits. So I just want to support you all as we go through this final push, and also just, you know, remind you all of the nuances and what we have to keep in mind as we go forward with reviewing these applications and supporting the applications. So that is my really not fun part of the conversation, because risk isn't really an exciting thing to talk about. And also having to say no to people. But I just wanted to bring that up and let you guys ask any questions you might have as it relates to that or anything else. Yeah, Charlie.
Can you just remind us what would happen if a center received an E&E grant and then they weren't able to continue operating?
Well, the bigger risks too is not just operating, but if we have these grants where they haven't even been able to open the license, whether it's a brand new center or execute that change, any dispersed funds would need to come back to the department. And there are, the risk isn't just for the department and for the feds, it's also for the councils as federal subrecipients. So I just think that, especially as we keep moving through these applications, I know that there's been a lot of care and attention and back and forth with a lot of these applications around supporting people to get into the process, and waiting in some instances. And I think we just really need to remind folks that yeah, there's no guarantees of funding, and we have to be, we are the stewards of taxpayer dollars, and this isn't free money if the obligations aren't met. So, so yeah, I hope that addressed the question, and thank you for that, Charlie. And nobody wants to have to ask for money back. I assure you, none of us sitting here want to have to do that. So I just want us to, you know, that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure kind of conversation. And there's also things that are outlined in MOUs and all of that. So that's just part of what is being signed as well by all the parties in the MOUs. So the good news is we're going to have every council is going to have a contract amendment. So whether or not your contract amendment includes an increase in base funding depends on how much base funding, your percentage of base funding and the amount of awarded grants that you have. So if your council has less than 10% in base funding of the total grants awarded, then you will receive a bump. Everyone has to go through a contract amendment because we have to extend the GAE through September 2026. And then we also have to increase the amount of the GAE spending. So this is, as Bonnie notes, in accordance to the legislation from last legislative session that just concluded in June or May, May actually, that extended our ability to spend down through 2026. And I want to do the math for you for this first bullet because I know it's not really helpful the way I explained it. So if you have $100,000 in GAE spending for E&E, and your base funding is $5,000, you would see your base funding increase by $5,000 to get it up to that $10,000, because that's the 10% of what was in the GAE in your council region. Does that make sense to y'all? That also means that we're not fully allocating out in base funding all of the funding that's been set aside for councils. So Stacy asked if it's possible there'll be additional application rounds. And at this time, I don't anticipate there will be. That being said, we know how successful E&E is. And so if there is more money put towards this program, right, then it's possible there could be E&E additional rounds. But based on the current funding that we have right now, I don't see that there'll be more opportunities for programs to apply for E&E. So yes, so that's it's, if we're stay at 14 million GAE, then I would say no, because of just how much we have out there being requested. Now, we also know last time, what happened last time, but given that we have a little bit longer for spend down and a little bit longer to make the eligibility determination, that's why I'm pretty confident that we won't have additional funding if the GAE funding doesn't increase for the program. So the contract amendments are going to come out in the next couple of weeks. So your QRIS coordinator will be sending those out to you. And if your QRS coordinator is going to be out of the office at any point during the contract amendment process, we have worked out a backup system. So just make sure that if when that contract amendment goes out, if you haven't been able to get it back, we're all here to help you and get these executed as quickly as possible. So that's the update on contract amendments. And we think that our goal is to fully allocate the GAE by the end of the year, by the end of December. And then after that happens, then we can do hopefully the last round of E&E amendments that can get all of that base funding out and any adjustments that we need to make. So the last thing I want to point out to you all is, I know I hammer on this a lot, is that we have a great vendor that can help with all those questions that relates to capital projects. Rick is standing by to help. He comes to every office hours as well. So if you want to come to office hours and hang out with Rick and Christy and me, and sometimes Charlie, and sometimes Bonnie, and sometimes Karen, and usually each other, you're more than welcome to bring that there as well. You can also connect your programs directly with Rick. You don't have to necessarily be the one in the middle. And we also want to honor the process that you have with your programs. So if you have questions around, like, you know, those capital pieces, the requirements and all that, we look forward to supporting those. Also, I know that our team anticipates receiving the first draft of the guides in the next couple next week or so, I would think. And so those will be available to you for support as well. And as you all know, that our office hours are continue to be on Mondays and Wednesdays. I request that it's just counsel so that if we need to have some of those harder conversations, that we can do that. And really, that the biggest reason too is that, I work directly, and my colleagues, I work directly with you all to support getting the documentation in. And so we want to just make sure that the communication channels stay open to you all so we can best support you and figure out the next steps. So that's it for E&E. I know it only took 15 minutes. What questions, comments, feedback do y'all have? And now you're all going to go listen to Salt and Pepper after we're done. So, yeah. Yeah, and Karen just put out, it's very unlikely about that another round. So, yeah. So, obviously, if anything changes, we'll share with you as soon as possible, as soon as we're able to. At this point, I just don't see it unless there's a big change. So, good to see you all. Come hang out with us.
Thank you,
And
Emily.
yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Never stop sharing. Cool. All right. Next up, we have Felicia Mendez. I see you, Felicia. Hello. Welcome
Hi.
to State TA Day.
Thank you. I'm not sure. There I am. I was like, why did my camera turn off? Hi, everyone.
Yeah, you're
Did
frozen.
you want me to? I am. Oh, gosh. Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine, but
Okay, good. Did you want me to share my slide, or were you going to share that?
if you want to share it.
Yeah, I can do that.
But I did put a link in the agenda if anyone else wants to pull it up too.
So, 1 second.
If you're having trouble sharing it, let me know.
Now I can do it here. Well, at least I'm frozen on a smile. Can you all hear and see this? Can you see
Yeah,
this?
looks good. Sounds good.
Okay, great. You know what? I bet it's because I'm connected to VPN. Dang that VPN. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Felicia Mendez, and I am the Workforce Development Specialist for the Early Childhood Mental Health Unit at CDEC. And thank you for having me. So I'm here today to share, well, first of all, I don't know how many of you are aware of our program, but the ECMH consultation program is a no-cost, sorry, my chat is blowing up now. No-cost program that equips families and early childhood professionals with knowledge, skills, and resources they need to support their own well-being and the healthy social emotional development of children that they care for. So our consultants are master's level trained in early childhood mental health, and we offer these services in all 64 counties. So today I'm here to share 2 of our videos that we just created that highlights the voices of some of the families that have used our consultation services, and also some voices from directors, teachers, and the consultants themselves. So we're really excited about these new videos. So the first one I'm going to show you is voices from the families. And so let me, hopefully my sound works. Can you hear that?
Yes, we could hear.
You did, good. Okay, great. I will play it again then.
Early Childhood Mental Health Consultation is a no-cost program serving children under the age of 6 in Colorado. It is aimed at building capacity and supporting those caregivers in building social and emotional skills. It's really important because it really is the fundamental building blocks for the rest of their lives.
My eldest was about 2.5. He was having some violent outbursts with other kids and hurting other kids.
We were first introduced through our son's school because we'd asked, hey, how can we get some assistance with parenting? This is where we're struggling. This is where we could use some help. And we were specifically looking for like more of a positive parenting approach.
When I was first notified, it was terrifying and heartbreaking to know that your child is struggling.
A lot of times I'll just sit down with a parent and say, hey, like, this isn't easy. And that's okay, because as their parent, you love them and you're going to give them what they need. And I'm here to help you make that happen.
It starts with outreach from an early childhood mental health consultant, asking questions with the parents about their child. After that, we usually do an observation of the child in the classroom, and then all come together for a brainstorming session.
We're kind of like the bridge. It's always good to have somebody come in as that new, fresh set of eyes and help everyone navigate the situation.
It was looking at the whole system, what's going on at home, what's going on at school, what's going on internally with my little guy, and how can we work as a team to best support him.
It really is a collaborative process where the parents are having input, the teachers are having input, and the goals typically are around building missing skills.
We set goals, and then from there, we help them reach those goals through resources, consultation, and guidance.
We knew what we were working towards. We wanted my son to be having better interactions with other kids. And we were able to come up with micro-level plans of how can we support him.
It was like, okay, here's 5 things that are feeling right, and we talked through what those looked like, and then we really did choose what order we implemented those. It felt really digestible.
Early childhood mental health consultation does look different for each family, and the parents are in control of how much they think they can commit to the process. We're meeting with parents for an hour at the very beginning, and then we're following up with them as needed. Do they need an additional phone call each week? Do they maybe just need a check-in via email once a month to see how things are going? The time commitment can look different for different families, and I think most teams really pride themselves on being able to meet families where they're at.
Also, as parents, when you're implementing new strategies, like a week, you're like, I can do that in a week, and then a week flies by. And so being able to work with the consultant to figure out timelines and adjusting those and having some flexibility was really nice.
I find so much joy in normalizing some of this for parents and really being able to validate and support them in that they know their kids, they know it's going to work, and sometimes everybody just needs a little extra support.
My son is 5 years old now. He starts kindergarten in the fall, and he integrates beautifully with his pre-K class. If I didn't have the mental health consultant to help guide that process, my son would have slipped through the cracks.
Getting in there early and really getting those interventions in with children help them move forward in a way that makes them successful academically and social emotionally. What's beautiful is that parents can find someone who can see their child for who they are and help their child be the best of who they are.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are very excited about these videos. In interest of time, I won't share the second one. So the second one just highlights voices from directors and teachers in early childhood centers. So these are on our website. I'll put them in the chat. You can also find on our website, we have the referral link, our support line phone number, and our service area map. Some of our consultants serve like multiple counties. So that's all I have then. Thank you for having me. And I will also put my email in the chat also if you have other questions about mental health consultation program in general. All right, have a good day.
Thank you, Felicia. Does anyone have any questions for Felicia? off the bat in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. All right, awesome. This is a super exciting program. I know it aligns with some of the indicators in our evidence guide for the level 3 to 5 ratings for providing services to children with special needs and mental health consultations. So the wonderful service that is being offered. Feel free to reach out to Felicia if you have any additional questions. Cool. I'll put this in the agenda too, the link to the website. All right, Shannon, I saw you pop in. My old friend Shannon.
Hi, I'm here.
Hello.
Hi,
Good to see ya.
good to see you. Mm-mm. Okay, I think everyone froze for a minute, so I may have missed something.
No.
Okay. All right. So my name's Shannon Hall. A lot of you know me. I am the Director of Direct Services at ECLA and administer our Family Child Care Home Improvement Grant. We have funding for this grant through 2024. So we hold 2 rounds every year, one in the spring, one in the fall. We just wrapped up our spring application round, and we were able to award 50 family child care providers to open their programs to help with licensing issues or to increase capacity in their programs. Our new round just opened, and it will close on October 9th. So family child care providers can go in and apply. If you have providers who are trying to, get the necessary things they need to open their program, or they want to increase their capacity, or they have licensing issues, they can apply for this grant. It does close October 9th, but it does take between 4 and 6 weeks to go through all the applications, do a review, and award. So the funding will probably not come to them until mid to end November. So I always like to mention that. We have a web page on our ECLA website that talks about the Family Child Care Grant. It has frequently asked questions, and we also have pre-recorded technical assistance webinars that will help providers kind of go through the application online. Because it can get confusing. And one thing I always like to point out is we're not expecting like professional grant writers. We understand many of our providers have not ever written a grant. We just want to make sure that it's complete and we understand the project and that it is of high need. So they can go in there, go through the application, see how to do it online. And if we have providers who don't have access to, a good stable internet or a computer, we just ask that they contact us and we can find a way to get their application in so that they're included in the rounds. Hi, Christina. Yes, they can write the application in Spanish. We use Google Chrome for our application portal so that they are able to go in and actually there's a button you can hit on Google Chrome that will translate a web page. And so it does work pretty well with the award portal that we use in the translation. And we also have award documentation in Spanish as well. We're working on other languages. That has proven to be a little bit difficult, but we do have, we contract with a professional Spanish translator. So, yeah, I think that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Just have a quick question for you. Is your grant available to childcare homes and centers that recently just got their license, where they've had their license for like a month or two, or do they still have to be in that waiting stage?
No, it can be for those that are, they've been open for 10 years, 6 months, whatever. Okay. Just looking at improvements they may need. We don't accept reimbursements, and that's just for our funders requirements. They don't do it on a reimbursement basis, so they can't have already done the project and ask for reimbursement. And if the project needs to be done before the end of the grant period or whatever, we still wouldn't be able to reimburse that. So we always tell them just to wait until you get the award letter in your hand before you do any of the project.
That absolutely makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And yes, Kristen, if they have any questions, they can reach out directly to me. They can email me, or the phone number that is on the website or any of the information, they can call. I'm not in my office a ton, but they can text. I do have that always with me. They can text that same number, and I will be able to get right back to them. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I think I'm done, Charlie.
Thank you. Cool. And in the agenda, do you want to just talk about the resources that you shared?
Sure. So there is, I did share with Charlie, there is a flyer for our new round. And there is also a PDF copy of our frequently asked questions. Sometimes that's easier for providers to have. Christina, I have it in Spanish as well. So if you want me to forward that to you, I know your email, so I can get that sent over as well.
Cool.
Yes, I can send it. I will send it to Charlie in Spanish, and he can send it to all of you.
Yes. Yeah, I'll make sure that the Spanish versions are on the agenda as well. Cool. We love this grant. We're always looking for ways to help out our family child care providers. So we appreciate you and the work you are doing to help them.
Of course. And I will mention, it's not something that we advertise, but if there's a family child care provider in a bind that they need something right away, it's considered an emergency, you can have them reach out to me. We do accept some emergency applications to get funding right away. We have a small pot for that. So like those that were devastated by the tornado or the Marshall Fire, their stove goes out or something like that, where they need that emergency funding and they can't wait till the end of the grant round or they'll have to close. We will have them fill out a different application and kind of award them on a need basis. So I did want to mention that as well.
Awesome. Thanks. I lost connection there, but I think what you were saying was, I don't know if everybody else did too, but if there is a family child care who has an urgent need, to just let you know that, and we'll work to get that taken care of.
Yep. And I think Rebecca had a question.
Yes.
Yes, hi. It's also my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the person does have to at least have a license number, correct? They might not be approved, but they at least have to have had applied.
Right. They should have that license number, and that's just to ensure that they are planning to go through with the inspection and opening and things like that. So they have to at least been to that point where they have a licensing number and communication from their licensing specialist.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. And if they can get other grants and apply for them and get this one as well. I know that the Emerging and Expanding grant is out there. So if they need some extra funds and things like that, we will fund them. All right.
Cool. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. Next up, I saw Amanda pop in. Yeah, there you are. Amanda, how do you pronounce your last name? Otamendi?
Yeah, Otamendi. It's phonetic. Looks intimidating, but
Yes. has a nice ring to it.
Thanks. I will share my screen. Just give me 1 second
Cool.
here. Can you see that okay? Perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Amanda Otamendi, and I am an environmental health educator in the Toxicology and Environmental Epidemiology Office at CDPHE. And today I'm going to talk about a program we provide for early care and preschool education providers known as Choose Safe Places. I do know they did a presentation similar to this last year, but I am new to Choose Safe Places, so I'm just kind of informing you guys again about the program. So Choose Safe Places is a voluntary program for providers to identify and address potential environmental concerns at or around childcare facilities. According to the Colorado Licensed Childcare Facilities Report, there are over 2,000 licensed early care and preschool education providers in Colorado. And Choose Safe Places focuses on licensed childcare facilities not located in private family homes. This is because family-based daycares are less likely to be located within the same building or next to a business that could cause harmful exposure to pollutants. Places where children learn and are cared for should be safe from pollution or harmful substances. We assess the past use of the property and look to see if they are located near any businesses that can expose children, staff, and providers to harmful substances. So one example of exposure to harmful substances is circled here in red. A child care facility might open up in a strip mall that shares the same AC unit as a dry cleaning business. Exposure to harmful substances may cause an increased risk of illness, and children are at an increased risk because their bodies are still developing. They weigh less than adults, so when they swallow or breathe in the same amount of chemicals as adults, they receive a greater dose. They often do more hand, foot, and mouth gestures. And lastly, children spend more time on the ground and may come into contact with contaminated soil or dust by eating it or breathing it in. So what can providers do to ensure that their facility is safe? They will need to fill out our property questionnaire to help them review the history of their building. If it was ever used for other purposes, such as a dry cleaner or funeral home, they will need to get more information about the facility, including information about any cleanup or sampling that has occurred in the past. And then once the questionnaire is filled out, we can help them assess their property. This questionnaire is available on our website. You can print it off and mail it in or fill out a Google form. And I will put a link in the chat when I'm done with the presentation to the questionnaire. And then another option that providers have is to consider opening up their facility in a different location. So identifying and addressing potential environmental site hazards, especially before a childcare facility is licensed, can prevent and reduce harmful exposures to the children receiving care and education. Since it may not be possible to eliminate all exposures, we can work together to ensure that one hazard in particular doesn't reach unsafe levels in a child's body. The hazard that I'm going to share with you today is lead, and I will provide some information about this heavy metal, and I will be focusing on lead-based paint through the rest of the presentation. So a little bit about lead. Lead is a naturally occurring metal found in the air, soil, and water. However, lead comes from human activities such as mining and manufacturing. And common sources of lead include lead-based paint, home remedies, imported glazed potteries, and spices, lead-based hobbies and careers, and water and pipes from homes built before 1986. Lead exposure is hard to detect, and signs and symptoms don't appear until dangerous amounts have accumulated in the body. Lead poisoning occurs when lead builds up in the body, often over months or years, and even small amounts of lead can cause serious health problems. Children younger than the age of 6 are especially vulnerable to lead poisoning, just based on what I shared earlier, that they're still growing. They often put things in their mouths. They're often on the ground a lot more than adults, and they breathe in more frequently than adults as well. So at very high levels, lead poisoning can be fatal, and signs and symptoms of lead poisoning include developmental delays or learning difficulties, fatigue or irritability, abdominal pain or loss of appetite, vomiting or constipation, and eating things that aren't food, also known as pica. So the use of lead-based paint was banned in 1978. However, childcare and preschools built prior to this year may still have lead-based paint in their facility. Unless testing has indicated otherwise in the past, assume that all walls, baseboards, doors, windows, staircases, dust, and soil located outside of the facility contain lead. And can someone tell me what the hazard is in this image? Feel free to put your response in the chat. Correct. Great job, everyone. So as you can see in this image, an infant is supporting itself up on the windowsill, and there is chip paint on the windowsill. If the infant begins picking at the chip paint, it may swallow some of the paint chips, exposing itself to lead. So I have a few on-site tips to share with you. So when the paint is in poor repair, like that windowsill, it needs to be fixed. So you'll want to assume that all paint contains lead unless proven otherwise from testing. The provider will want to minimize the risk, so the provider can block off an area until it's appropriately repaired. They can put a protective cover over the windowsill, and you will want to wet mop or wet wipe surfaces and not use a broom, also known as dry sweeping. If the paint is in good condition or intact, it is not considered to be a hazard. And if you have any additional questions regarding lead-based paint on the site, CDPHE's Air Quality Control Division and the TO office are excellent resources, and the contact information is provided on the CDPHE website. So I have a few more tips for you. These include washing children's hands and toys regularly, removing shoes before going inside, wet mopping floors and wet wiping windowsills, and lastly, you can learn about lead poisoning prevention and be a resource to families. Again, our website, if you just Google CDPHE Lead and Health, we have an entire web page with a bunch of resources and fact sheets dedicated to providers, healthcare providers, pregnant people, and people who work around lead or have hobbies involving lead. So you can always just either download them on your computer or you're able to print them off and keep them around your location. So on the left of your screen, we have a Choose Safe Places flyer. This flyer provides information about the program, and it also includes a QR code which childcare providers can scan to complete their property questionnaire. I believe it was a month ago, I presented to local public health agency inspectors, and I asked them if they would be willing to take these flyers with them on their next inspection. So you may be seeing these around facilities. Once the provider submits their questionnaire, we will review the answers and send them recommendations to help ensure that everyone working in and learning, working around or learning in the facility is safe from environmental hazards. This flyer is also available on our website. So thank you for having me today. Are there any questions? I'm relatively new to this program, so I will try to answer your questions to the best of my ability. But if you have any questions that come up later about Choose Safe Places, you can email us or call us at any time. And I will quickly put the flyers in the chat.
Cool. So this might be something, as you're working with programs on their emerging and expanding grants, this might be something to do for a center that's opening or that is expanding, just to make sure that the spaces that they're utilizing are safe for kids. And it's just a really cool service that is offered. So we appreciate you coming on to talk about it. And yeah, I hope we can take you up on it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cool. All right. SSBI. see Marika is on here.
Hey,
Oh, there's
Charlie.
Kristen. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, I believe Marika is going to share screen on slides for us. Thank you. Marika, hi everybody. Wanted to go ahead and just jump in and make sure I leave enough time for my colleagues because we have quite a bit to share this morning. Hi everyone, I'm Kristen Lang. I'm the State Systems Building Initiatives Unit Manager at the Department of Early Childhood. So happy to be with you here today. We can go to the next slide, Marika. Wanted to take some time to update you all on a few things related to our preschool development grant Birth Through 5 initiatives. As many of you know, we have 2 initiatives happening at the same time. One is the final no-cost extension year of our renewal grant that kicked off back in 2020. And the other is our brand new PDGB-5 planning grant, which was originally a 1-year grant for this calendar year, 2023. So next slide, please, Marika. So a big update around the planning grant today. I previewed for you all at the last meeting that we were anticipating receiving some supplemental funding from the federal PDGB-5 program for that planning grant. And we were able to receive an additional $860,000 for our state for these planning grant activities, which is really exciting. And tacks on to about $3 million in original funding that we received. So we're just, really grateful that we have an opportunity to further the impact of this planning year. The actual application for this funding is non-competitive, but we'll be submitting it on or before September 8th. And this slide here gives you a preview of the activities that were approved for funding through that supplemental request. What we intended to do, and then ultimately were also similarly informed to do by our federal partners, was really build on those planning grant activities we already had going on. Remember, this is still planning grant, so even though it's additional money, the purpose really is for us to have quick pilots that we could try out that would be able to inform future implementation of innovative ideas, to be able to create plans or do research on good ideas that then would put us in a good place, hopefully, to be able to apply for some renewal grant funding if the opportunity presents itself. So I don't want to read all of these things here to you. I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to highlight just a few. The first I wanted to highlight is 3.2. So that's creating connection points with cultural centers to engage tribal families. The descriptions and the numbers here relate to our PDGB-5 application for the planning grant. So we have our wonderful new tribal liaison at the department, Sina Harjo, who in this planning year had already intended to be going out into the state, talking to tribal families, in particular, ensuring that that included those who do not live on reservation, but out in communities in the state, really understanding what their needs are. And then with this additional planning grant funding, her hope is to be able to pilot a tribal advisory council for the department for 12 months. And so we're really excited to try that out. Another one I wanted to highlight for you all is the home visiting messaging campaign. So many of you know, if you've been involved in the Home Visiting Investment Task Force, that through the planning grant this year, they've been working with a vendor to be able to really communicate around home visiting to key audiences like legislators. And then with this additional funding, they want to be able to pilot dissemination of those materials and learn what we can about their efficacy, or maybe where we need to go back and tweak things a bit. And then just another one I wanted to emphasize for you all is the Family Child Care Home Compensation Pilot. That has just been lifted now, and so this additional funding is going to give us time to extend that pilot and see what the impacts are when we can support our family child care home providers with additional benefits and resources. So lots of great work, and you'll see again the variety listed here. As you might anticipate, if we apply for this funding in September, we're supposed to wrap up in December. That would be like no time to get anything done. So our federal partners are anticipating we're going to also ask for a no-cost extension. That'll extend the work to December 30th of 2024. So super excited. And because Marika and Megan are on, I have to just give a plug to, of course, one of our extended planning grant activities is going to continue their great work around the regional convenings that many of you have taken part in. Okay, next slide, please. Quick update on the needs assessment, which is also being funded through the PDGB-5 planning grant. As many of you know, our vendor for that is Colorado Health Institute. I let you all know last time that they were going to be having those initial findings available by the end of July. And in fact, they presented on those initial needs assessment findings at the ECLC meeting this morning. I put a link there to the recording where you can find the recording of the meeting and watch their portion of the presentation. But we are hoping that they'll also be able to come to PQA. So the Early Childhood Leadership Commission Program Quality and Alignment Subcommittee meeting in September. If you need a reminder on the research questions, those are in the chat. Thank you, Marika. Next slide, please. Okay, quick update on the PDG B5 strategic plan. This is the state's early childhood strategic plan reflecting the shared priorities of all of our partners across the system. Our vendor Start Early is engaging in that. They also happen to be at the ECLC meeting this morning. So if you go back and watch a recording, you'll see more information from them about the process they're engaging in. Some really exciting things that have happened since we talked to you last is that the strategic plan working group kicked off and started their first meeting together. They're the working group under the Early Childhood Leadership Commission that's going to be making the decisions about what actually ends up in that revised plan after all of these inputs are gathered. And so just a thank you to both Stacys for being part of to families and to the professionals that work within that broad system for the focus groups. They are happening now and going really well, and we've had really diverse engagement, which we're very proud of. And finally, we are engaging in a number of key informant interviews. I will say too, we continue to seek families who speak Spanish for the focus group that's happening this weekend. So I'm gonna, after I'm done, drop some specific information about that language in the chat. If you're able to push that out to your networks, it would be great. And then just wanted to highlight some engagement opportunities to source strategy ideas. Like, we want to hear from you about what you think needs to go in this strategic plan update. So you all be having Start Early Come to a Hot Topics call at the end of this month. And then also that ECLC PQA meeting on September 8th, they will be there sourcing ideas. So make sure that you're there too. And the link to the meeting is there as well. All right, final slide, Marika. For me, anyway, if you would drop in the chat, Marika, this poll. I want to make sure, I know State TA Day is tough because we have such limited time and it's sort of like a lot of talking at you. I want to make sure you're getting what you want to know about PDG covered. And so this survey is one question. What questions do you have about the PDG B5 renewal grant or the planning grant? If you wouldn't mind taking a moment to complete that now, I will take a look at the responses and make sure when we come back and give further updates that we can bring you answers and make sure we're being responsive. So with that, I'm going to pass it now over, I believe, to Megan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Megan LeClaire. I'm one of the program access administrators on the SSBI team at CDEC. I'm here to talk about two different things today. So first, we have our 5th cohort application coming for the Colorado Early Learning Universal Design and Inclusion Project. So this is a cohort model project that all licensed providers are eligible to participate in. And so we ask for applications, and we will select about 48 programs. So it could be licensed childcare centers, family childcare homes, or school district centers. And this is a roughly 6-month cohort model where providers will be able to participate in training once a month as a cohort altogether for to learn about how to adapt their environments and materials to better serve children with delays and disabilities. So Marika has dropped the link to the Cohort 5 application. And I'd also like to share just this link to the website. So we partner with the Center for Inclusive Design and Engineering at CU Denver on this project. Our colleagues over there are very knowledgeable occupational therapists and speech language pathologists and other professionals that have served children and families with delays and disabilities for many years. So they are very knowledgeable, and we're so lucky to partner with them. And another thing I wanted to share was this. I've shared it with you all before, but just as a reminder, here's the impact report for oh, there it goes, for the first 3 cohorts. So everything you'll see in that document is just some data to show the impact of this project across the state of Colorado in the first 3 cohorts. The fourth cohort just ended this past summer, and so we did not include data on this impact report with that yet. But please share this application with providers in your catchment areas. We really are encouraging folks to take advantage of this awesome resource. And I'm also going to share this document about the training timeline and different incentives that participants are eligible to receive if they are selected to be a part of this cohort. So that is giving me a loading sign. So, okay, I'm gonna have to share that one later because my permissions need to be updated on that. So I'll work on that, but it is linked in the slide deck. So I'll have that fixed before we send this deck out to you all. But okay, so, oh, and then I would say that we, oh, application closes, that's what I was gonna say, September 15th. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So please share that broadly and reach out to me if you have any questions on that. Okay, next slide, Marika. All right, so as you all know, the Early Childhood Council Shared Measures report has closed. So just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you. We had almost 100% participation this round. So that is so huge and really encouraging because as you all know, this data is really, really important to have in one place and to be able to share in your communities and with legislators to just show the huge impact that councils are having across the state. So thank you all so much for your hard work. I know that and the annual report timeline were similar this year on purpose to help you try to like streamline the data where possible, but I know it's a big lift. So thank you all so much. And also just a little timeline on the slide here that between now and the end of October, we'll be working on evaluation and data analysis. So we're gonna do the quantitative data analysis and create a dashboard like we did last year. That you all will be able to interact with. Our data team at CDEC is going to help us work on that, and that's such a helpful tool. And then this year, as you all know, we're going to do qualitative analysis too. So Megan Lockteff from ECLA is going to help us analyze the longer response narratives that you all put into the form this year. So that will also strengthen the story and the impact of councils since we didn't previously capture that data. So yes, just wanted to say thank you again so much and just give yourselves a little moment of celebration. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marika Padilla here, the other Program Access Administrator for the SSBI unit. And I'm here quickly to talk about the local organizational capacity virtual trainings. Megan and I have joined the meetings in the past to talk about the in-person convenings. And now we have two great training opportunities coming up. We have our first training starting next week on meaningful justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion training. And we have two more additional training series coming here in October. And we have dates and times as TBA for the Introduction to Systems Building. We're still working with our subject matter expert to set those dates for those trainings. But we wanted to highlight these two no-cost virtual trainings under the same umbrella of local organizational capacity work that the regional convenings that Krista mentioned about, and many of you have taken part in those convenings, and it's always nice to see familiar faces here. So we want to highlight just a quick detail about these trainings. We kept the registration for these trainings at 30 participants. And the reason for this is that when we were planning these virtual trainings, we worked closely with our instructional design team here at CDEC to really think about how we offer meaningful connections in a virtual setting. So in order to achieve that, we decided to cap the training at 30 participants so that we as humans can still form those human connections in the virtual world. And when we started promoting the JEDI training that starts next week, the registration filled in a matter of days. So we encourage you that when you do get these emails from Megan and I, we hope to start distributing the promotions next week for the guiding and communicating organizational work training. So when you do get those emails, register as soon as you can. And I also want to highlight that these are series. So we, in the registration form, elevate the fact that we really encourage folks to sign up if they're able to attend all of the dates that are on the screen, and they'll be also in the registration form, just so that we can form those connections and have a really meaningful training opportunity for all. Any questions about the virtual training series coming up? All right. I'll move on to the PDG SBDC Childcare Business Training. We have 3 great series coming here soon. In the fall, the registration is open for Southern Colorado's training. It is for both home and center-based providers. East Colorado SBDC has financial series coming here in October. It's also for home and center-based providers. And they're also offering a Spanish language mastering your financials for childcare providers, which also will be open for home and center-based providers. So these are really great trainings that are coming up here soon. And I will drop the registration links to both of those here in the chat. And the Growing Forward website is always a good place to go get up-to-date info on the business training opportunities. And I just quickly here for the last minute want to highlight the Childcare Business Training Impact Report that I shared last month. It's just a great 4-page document that really highlights the SBDC Childcare Business Training Program, its growth, data, and impact. And please feel free to share this with your professional networks, and I will drop the link here in the chat as well. Any questions about anything that our unit presented on? All right. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, SSBI. And Kristen, please send me the slide deck too. And I've been dropping all of these links into our agenda as well. So, cool. Always wonderful. You guys are always so busy, and I don't know how you do it, but you do it, and we appreciate you. Okay, Eva,
All right.
hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Eva Jankowski. I liked how Megan introduced herself. I was like, I never do that. So I thought I'd introduce myself. I'm Eva Jankowski, and I am with the EQ Initiative. My new counterpart, Leah Grossman, is also joining us today. So we just have a couple of quick EQ updates for you. So let me share my screen here. All right. There we go. So we are working away to plan our also an additional cohort, our next Infant Toddler Specialist Foundations course, which is usually about a 5 to almost 6 month long process of becoming trained as an EQIT instructor. It's sort of the gateway to teach EQIT in your local community. After folks complete that initial foundational training, then they're also eligible to move on to become an EQIT coach. So first folks engage in this foundations course training, they become instructors, and then they're also eligible to become a coach. We'll be offering the coaching training after we complete this, so probably in the next fiscal year. I just wanted to say we'll be starting this in February of 2024, so we're just kind of starting to get the ball rolling. We have an interest form available for folks who may know people who are interested, and or if you would like to add additional people onto your EQIT team that you currently have, please share that interest form far and wide, and we will begin some of the vetting process here soon. We do look for 3 things for folks to have in order to apply for the foundations course. We look for folks to ideally have a current trainer credential. So that means that they need to have a level 3 early childhood professional credential or higher. If for some reason they don't have that, they can work with us and we'll kind of come up with next steps to help them increase some of their points. But ideally, that's what we're looking for. So trainer credential. We ask that folks have already taken EQIT, the whole 48-hour course in a local community. And the reason for that is just so that people have a depth of understanding around what EQIT is, what the curriculum looks like, and just kind of how it works in the local community. So those 2 things, as well as just connecting with local councils to make sure that councils are actually kind of in need of adding team members. Some councils are like, please just send us people, and other councils are like, no, we have our team and we don't really want anyone else. And so we ask that local folks are sort of connecting with their councils to make sure that they're needing that support. So those are the 3 things. When someone is filling out the interest form, those are the 3 things that they're going to sort of be asked about. So if you have anyone who is interested in attending this starting in February and they need one of those things, especially the EQIT course, we have lots of courses that are starting right now. So now is a really good time if you have somebody that you're interested in to say, go ahead and take the EQIT course, so then you can be kind of eligible to begin with the cohort in February. I'm going to let Leah talk about some of the details that she is starting to work out just around the timeline. We're looking at about 17 weeks. It's a total of 70 hours. It's 0.5 FTE. So just knowing and understanding that it is a time commitment, and it is, a commitment for someone to embark on. But we think that it's an awesome opportunity. I also wanted to say we're especially interested in continuing to develop Spanish-speaking team members for communities across the state. Right now, we have a few different Spanish courses that run annually, and we have 2 Arabic-speaking teams as well. So Spanish, Arabic, or if there's other languages that you feel like, oh my gosh, this population we could really reach, and people, send them our way, because we want to continue to develop some of that with our language justice. So with that, I'm just going to let Leah talk a little bit about some of the timeline pieces that are coming up.
Absolutely. Yes. So, hi, I'm Leah, and we are super excited to be planning our foundations course. We're hoping to have a location nailed down within the next week or 2. And so then we will be able to say, yes, it's exactly happening these days. Right now, it's a hybrid model, and we think we're going to stick with that. And sometimes that's kind of confusing. So I'm going to tell you those things, but you can also click on the draft timeline, which will give you a better understanding of what happens for the participants in the foundations course as they are going through. So we'll start in person for a couple of days so that we can connect and build some relationships. Then we'll be meeting virtually 2 hours once a week to continue connecting and being with one another and studying that content. The participants will also be completing some online coursework, either in Google Classroom or whatever we get figured out, so that we can keep track of the work that's coming in. We will meet in person again about halfway through those 17 weeks, so that we can have kind of the finishing up of our in-person time together and really hammering out some skills. And then they're going to continue to meet virtually with some peer groups where they will have opportunities to practice their facilitation skills. The feedback we've received over the past several cohorts is the more practice we have doing this thing, the better we feel about it. And Eva instituted the peer groups last time, and they were so incredibly well received. So we've tried to gear this training around meeting the needs that they have, the foundation they need to get started, then they can practice. We're also asking for our councils, again, as we did last cohort, to welcome these new infant toddler specialists as guest facilitators in their communities. So you'll be receiving communication about that, where someone's going to join for one evening and facilitate one learning experience, just so they can get their feet under them. And so we hope that you will make sure your councils are aware of that and are welcoming others, because that's how we learn, is from being with each other. After that, we'll just check in, make sure they've done all of their things, and they'll have an exit interview with the EQ team at the state. And then they will be certified infant toddler specialists, and we can put them out to do this important work where they are supporting the care teachers all over Colorado. So big commitment, but absolutely incredibly worth it. And yes, so yeah, I guess we'll talk about this, right? So from right now, really be pushing getting those prerequisites. We know that we can support people when we have that time and capacity to meet those things. And we are hoping, again, like I said, to have the location nailed down in the next week or 2. And I'm hoping to send out registration in October, because we'd really like to have a list and an understanding and just be ahead of the game in all of our planning and getting materials ready and people connected. The big thing will be to make sure, just as I believe Marika was saying, this is a huge time commitment. And so we really want to make sure that people can attend all of these different times in person and in virtually, because every chance we're together is really helping them to be more prepared to be a facilitator. So I think that's all I have.
Okay, there's one quick question from Lauren.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, actually Lisa as well.
Oh, there's some questions. Let me pull up the chat.
So will we have the coaching training soon? So Lisa, we will have the coaching training after we complete this next cohort. So likely the coaching training will begin sometime in the spring of 2024. So the coaching training always follows the big foundations course.
So
Then Leah, do you want to take the next one?
yeah, absolutely. This is a tough one, Lauren. We have had some people who simultaneously are taking their EQ in their local community, their EQIT course, and also trying to join us. And it's a lot of work. And so I would say our preference is that they find a course now. We do have some that are still just now starting, because I think it would be a less of a workload if they aren't trying to do both at the same time. But I think also we want to support the people who are interested, and if it's a really good fit for councils, we'll try to work with councils and figure out what the best plan is. So feel free to reach out.
Okay. I just have a couple last quick things. I know we're maybe slightly over time here, but that's okay.
Yeah, you guys are fine. No,
We're
don't
good?
feel like
Okay.
How to rush. Yeah.
Okay. These ones will be pretty quick here. So I also just wanted, as we're doing lots of planning right now, we also have a plan for the next EQ statewide meeting. We are also working on finalizing and trying to reserve a space for that. But we do know that we're going to do it in May, likely the end of May, potentially the week of May 20th. But we, of course, have to nail down the venue first before we can send out that save the date. But I did just want to put that on everyone's radars, that we will first be kind of embarking on the Infant Toddler Specialist Foundations course. And then we will kind of be wrapping that up nicely and then have our statewide meeting in May in the spring. So just kind of put that in your minds. You can put a hold on your calendar for maybe that last week of May or the week before Memorial Day. So that is that. And I just wanted to say, I know many of you who are helping to support EQIT courses in your communities. PDAS registration for courses is open. I think almost all of the courses have registration open right now. Mary Heffernan has been our amazing support admin person. So if you have questions for us or for anything on the admin side of kind of rolling out your registration, contact Mary. I'm going to be going out for 3 months. This is my last state TA day call until December, because I am 2 weeks away from having a newest addition to my family. So Leah will be here for support, and so will Mary. We are trying to also be a lot more conscious around how to support our Spanish-speaking population with the registration process. It's been a workload, and we know that using a new system is difficult for any of us. And then when you're doing it in a language that's not your primary language, it's even more difficult. So moving forward to our next courses, we will be offering some additional support with our PDIS help desk. And we're working right now to develop what some of those supports are going to look like. We think that we'll have like a pre-orientation sort of registration meeting, and we'll hold that a few different times for folks to help them set up their PDIS accounts initially, and then to walk through some of those registration steps. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that as well. I think I just have a couple of just, if you need anything, kind of contact information things, but if you do need anything, Sarah Roberts is our interim workforce manager, so you can contact her You can, of course, contact Leah with program questions. If you're not getting some sort of payment piece going through, please contact Rose or Grace. You all are usually CCing them on your invoice emails to our CDEC invoice inbox. Dusty Stanton is helping us to kind of work through the EQ certificates. With courses being in PDIS, as they are coming to a close, closer towards December, one of the amazing things about having registration in PDIS is that instructors or whoever the administration person is able to just complete everyone who has completed all of the requirements of the course, and then their certificates are uploaded. So we won't have to have multiple middle people sort of helping you to upload your certificates any longer. You'll be able to really see like immediate turnaround for your certificates for EQ for participants. So we're excited about that. But if you have questions on certificates, duplicate certificates, lost certificates, past course things, you can contact Dusty. And then, like I mentioned, PDIS registration setup and questions, reach out to Mary. So that is all. And I'll be back in December. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both so much, Leah. We are so happy to have you on board, and welcome. And Eva, we are so excited for you, and we wish you nothing but the best in what is sure to be many sleepless nights ahead of you, but in a good way. Cool. Any other questions for EQIT? All right, wonderful. So I think we are down to our home stretch here, and we have Karen who is going to talk about a few QRIS updates.
Just a couple of announcements all. We've been talking about this for a little while, but we finally got approval on our emerging and expanding amendment information for those of you who work with those budgets. Look for that to hit your email likely late next week. So we will be pulling all that information together, making it as seamless as possible and providing direction on that. So that's coming. There's one more thing coming. I mentioned it on our last state TA call that we would be reaching out to councils regarding stimulus spending projections. Watch your email today. So it's going to land probably after this call in your email inboxes for those of you, again, who work with budgets and spending. We have a very, very short turnaround on this, about 5 days. And so I'm just asking you to please take a look for that. And if at all possible, prioritize it. And we're planning to then share that information. All of CDEC programs are doing this. We just got the directions yesterday. So we're probably ahead of the game, giving you guys a little bit of time to think about this. But anyway, I don't think it's a very time-intensive project. We're hoping it isn't. Just do your best with it. And if you need any support at all, definitely reach out. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to your coordinator, and we'll be happy to walk you through that. So watch for that. And that's really, unless I'm just going to open it up to the rest of the team. Any other updates or announcements? You guys, we did this in an hour and a half and the first time in a long time. It's good news.
Just like the good old days before we had 8 million things happening every single month. Cool. Yeah, we might be able to get out of here early, but I just did want to open it up if anyone had any additional questions. To recap on the QRIS end, we're going to need that information about any unspent funds. E&E amendments will be coming out, I would say, in the next 2 weeks or so, to get money into the GAE and to add base funding onto certain councils' E&E base funds. Lisa, yes.
Hi, everyone. I just was wanting to check in, and maybe other councils were able to get this data, but I do know that we just turned in data on the 15th, and the CCAP data was postponed as we work with our local counties, and I have heard from my local counties that they can't pull that data. I got an email today that the CCAP departments met with CDEC and were told that the councils should be receiving the report so that we can pull that data, that they do not receive that report. And so I feel like there's this back and forth, and I was just curious so that I can figure out who actually is going to give me the data so that I can pull that and turn it in as part of my annual report.
Yeah, Lisa, thanks for bringing that up. We have been actually sharing emails with CCAP team just to identify when we can, who has it and when has it. So I think Lilith probably has a little bit more details, but she's set up a call with Tyne's help with the CCAP team next week, and we will be learning a little bit more about that. I think what we're going to do is just request a data request on an annual basis for those numbers so that it doesn't put us in this kind of back and forth. We had some councils that were able to get the information or some information, and then we had others that couldn't. And so that's obviously not a situation we want to put people in. So we're going to work on it from our end, and we'll keep you updated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Also, Lisa, this was something that was talked about this morning on the chats call with the team.
Oh, good.
Sarah Jane was supposed to work with them on where they could find the information and how they could pull it for you guys. But I also directed them that you guys could contact us, that we have a report we can share with you guys as well. So
yeah, that's what she got back to me, and she's like, "You're supposed to contact Michelle," and I was like, "Well, now I feel stupid because I was told to contact you, and now." So anyway,
no, and I told them.
And the thing is that they referred me to the report that I already pull on a regular basis, but I don't know how to read the CCAP columns very well. And then they sent me instructions from 2019, and I'm like, okay. So
I explained this is all preliminary. I was like, this is a new report. We're just trying this out. It's all new. We're still trying to wrinkle out all the creases. It's just, it's all good. Just don't panic, Lisa. It's all okay.
Well, I'm not panicked. I just want to stop the email circling of who has the data, because I feel like we're all at the point of just you do.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you bringing that up because I know some folks are still waiting. So yeah, it's one of these things that got uncovered as we were trying to simplify things, right? So yeah, we'll definitely keep y'all updated on that, but should be soon.
And then I guess any other feedback I know you guys just received our reports, but it was a brand new process. I'm sure you're analyzing, but I'm curious, did you feel like this went well? Did other councils feel like this process went well? I hate to say don't take 30 minutes back in your day, because I actually need to take off in a few minutes, but I am just curious to hear what people thought of the new process, and if it simplified things, if it made things a little more challenging. I'm just curious.
Yeah, definitely. The goal certainly was to simplify it just based on feedback we'd received previously. So yeah, that's really good information to kind of, share with your coordinator the next time you're on a call with them. If it was more burdensome, less burdensome, the feedback we got was put it all in one place, ask for it at the same time, don't ask for it quarterly, ask for it annually based on, what our required legislation is. So hopefully any new process can be a burdensome or feel burdensome, a little bit more challenging, I think, but overall, yeah, give us your feedback on that. So that'll be helpful because we've been kind of making tweaks along the way based on your feedback, but yeah, we can go.
Well, and I guess the other point would be that, and you guys got emails from me on this, but the fact that we needed a strategic plan review versus just a strategic plan, and what those questions were to answer, can we put those somewhere too, so that we always are knowing what expectations are? Because at the last minute I was trying to then pull all that together because I hadn't thought I had to also submit a written report. So I think it was all lessons learned, nothing bad. I'm just
Good.
curious. So
Yeah, helpful. Thank you.
Cool. And Lilith said, any notes you have to share regarding the annual report can be emailed to her. I appreciate you bringing it up here, though, Lisa, in the group forum from just my informal, my monthly ECC check-ins. I've seemed to be getting positive feedback regarding the reports, as opposed to, except for, some of the minor having issues with the reporting in Salesforce and things like that. We have had to do a little bit of technical assistance there. But overall, I haven't really heard any negative feedback about the report. But if anybody wants to share their feedback or how they felt it went compared to years past, we'd be happy to hear it.
Yeah, always. Yeah, anything that we can work on collaboratively to support ease of operation is the goal.
Everyone's being shy. I
We're
get
tired.
Yes, Diane.
It was my first year doing this because it's my first year. Of course, I can't say that anymore. I think I've had my first anniversary, so I'm starting my second year.
Made it.
But I have to say, I was thrown by a number of the questions because I just had no idea. And I think it might have been helpful if sometime during the year, like, I don't know, like January or, like way before we have to do this, if we actually went through and talked about, or maybe if on these calls, we took sections of the shared measures and talked about, so where do you find this data? Where does it come from? How would you know? What are you doing to work on this? Especially a lot of the things about the mental health stuff and all of that. I had, in all those classes that are mentioned, I had no idea about any of that stuff. So just for the future, I'd just love to have some conversations about that throughout the year, to see, and maybe I was just too clueless last year to even know anything about it, but that to me would be a great use of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lilith, go ahead.
I just wanted to help clarify. Yes, excellent feedback, Diane. I think that I've heard a little bit of this feedback and possibly confusion with the shared measures, because they do ask a lot of mental health specific questions in the shared measures. And so really distinguishing between, is it the annual report where the questions were confusing, or is it the shared measures? And then of course, which one's which and what are they trying to cover? And I'm happy to go over that in more detail, as well as, and all of your QRS coordinators, whoever you happen to have, would be happy to go over that, I'm sure, with their councils, just to make sure that, again, yes, Diane, you are newer to this, and having to jump in and get it done is a whole new level of exciting, a learning curve that's pretty steep. So.
All right, any other feedback? Stacy found that the report took her longer, but it felt better because she was putting the needed information. It was more comprehensive than the old way. Yeah, I would agree with that. It was super thorough, but hopefully only having to do it once a year helps with that. And yeah, our goal was to kind of highlight the information.
Oops, Charlie froze up. Yeah, thank you. We've gathered this feedback, and certainly if there's others you want to share, we'll bring that back as well to the group that meets with local organizational capacity group, which has done the lion's share in the lead measures, and it could be that lead measures. What am I saying? on the shared measures group, and we can talk to them about possibly doing a training session, which I think would be helpful for some folks. So good.
All right, guys. My camera is, I think it's dragging down my network or something. I feel like the past 2 weeks, everybody's been having network issues, like phone networks, and I don't know what is going on. But anyway, thanks for your patience. Thanks for a wonderful State TA Day. So much wonderful information being shared here. If you need anything, you know how to get a hold of us. And I hope everyone has an excellent weekend. And we will see you all in September.
Well, I think we have an in-person one coming up in September too with ECLA. So,
ooh, oh yeah,
yeah.
World Cafe. Cool.
So hopefully we'll get to see folks. So, have a good one, everyone.